Before he lit Spokane on fire, he buried his father. Let that sentence sit with you for a second, because this week, while a whole city was learning the name Aaron Farinacci, reporters and court clerks in another state were pulling old files out of storage. Dusty files, files from 14 years ago. And what those files say changes everything about this story. It changes it from a story about a fire into a story about a man. A man with a past so dark that once you hear it, you will ask the only question that matters. How was he free? How was a man with this past walking around Spokane on a Saturday afternoon, close enough to a fire season, close enough to a match, to bring a city to its knees? Here is what the records say. And remember, these are not rumors. These are court documents pulled and confirmed this week. In 2012, in Arizona, Aaron Farinacci was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The victim was his own father. First-degree murder, the most serious charge in American law. It means the state believed it was planned. It means they believed a son sat down and decided to end the life of the man who raised him. Now think about what a father is supposed to be. For most of us, a father is the first protector we ever know. The man who teaches you to ride a bike, who shows up to your games, who you call when the car breaks down at midnight. That bond is supposed to be unbreakable. And when it breaks in a way that psychologists say leaves a mark on a person that never fully heals. There is a reason that crimes against family sit in a different place in the human heart than any other crime. We can understand on some level a robbery, a fight, even a feud between strangers. But a son and a father, that is the one bond we all agree is sacred, until it isn't. The details of that Arizona night are mostly sealed inside old case files. What we know is what the charges tell us. Something happened between a father and a son, and when it was over, the father was dead and the son was in handcuffs. Police do not charge first-degree murder lightly. They had something. They believed they could prove planning, intent, the cold machinery of a killing. That was where the case started, but that is not where the story ends. Because Aaron Farinacci was not convicted of first-degree murder. He took a deal. This is the part of the American justice system most people never see. A murder charge is a starting point, not an ending. Prosecutors look at their evidence. Defense lawyers look for holes. And somewhere in a conference room, a deal gets made. You plead guilty to something smaller. We drop the bigger charge. Everyone avoids a trial. Everyone avoids the risk. And here is something most people do not realize about those deals. They are not always about guilt or innocence. Sometimes they are about fear. A prosecutor with a shaky witness gets nervous. A defense lawyer with a client facing life in prison gets desperate. The deal is where those two fears meet. It is not justice in the way most of us picture it, with a jury and a verdict and a gavel. It is a negotiation, like buying a car. Except what is being traded is years of a man's life and the memory of a dead father. So the first-degree murder charge went away, and in its place came two smaller convictions: manslaughter and aggravated assault. Manslaughter means the killing happened, but the state agreed it was not cold, planned murder. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was a moment. The law has 100 shades between accident and execution, and manslaughter sits somewhere in the murky middle. He went to prison. And then, after some years, he got out. Now, I need to be fair here, because this part matters. America believes in second chances. We believe a person can serve their time and come out the other side. Millions of people have done it. They made terrible mistakes, they paid, and they built quiet, decent lives. That is the system working the way it should. But the system has a blind spot, and its name is silence. Because when a man like Farinacci walks out of prison, the paper trail does not follow him the way you think it does. There is no sign over his head. There is no alert that goes out to the next town he moves to. Neighbors do not get a letter. He is, in the eyes of everyday life, just another quiet man who keeps to himself. And that is exactly what he became. Somewhere between Arizona in 2012 and Spokane in 2026, there is a gap. 14 years of a man's life that right now is mostly dark. Reporters are digging through it this week. They are finding pieces, an address here, a job there, but the full picture has not come out yet. What we know is that he drifted north. He ended up in Washington. He ended up in or around Spokane, living the kind of life nobody writes articles about, until Saturday, August 1st. That is the day the fire started. Now, police say he started it. He has not been convicted. He has his day in court coming, and he deserves it, because that is how this country works. But here is what we can say. The same week he was arrested for arson. The same week a judge set his bond at $1 million, this old Arizona file surfaced. And suddenly, a fire that looked like a senseless act started to look like something else. It started to look like a pattern. And patterns are what should scare you, because here is what psychologists will tell you about violence. It is rarely random. A man does not wake up one day at 37 and become dangerous out of nowhere. The signs are almost always there years before. A first act, a first victim, a first time the line gets crossed. And if the line gets crossed once and the world does not stop that person for good, the line gets easier to cross the second time. Criminologists have studied this for decades. They call it escalation. The first violent act is the hardest. It takes the most to break through everything a person was taught about right and wrong. But once that wall is broken, it stays broken. The second act does not require the same push. It requires only the opportunity. A bad day, a match, a dry field, a father in 2012, a city in 2026. I am not saying the two are the same crime. They are not. One was intimate, personal, inside a family. The other was massive, public, against strangers. But they share one thing. In both cases, the people around this man never saw it coming. And that is the question that should keep every one of us up at night. Because somewhere out there, right now, there is another man with a file in a storage room. A man who crossed the line once, served some years, and walked back out into a world that forgot him. He is someone's neighbor. He is someone's quiet co-worker. And nobody is watching. Was anyone watching Farinacci? That is what investigators in 2 states are asking right now. Did he check in with anyone? Did anyone in Spokane know what was in his past? Did the system that released him ever look back? The answers so far are not comforting. Think about the neighbors. For however long he lived near Spokane, the people on his street shared fences with him, waved at him, maybe borrowed tools from him. And tonight, some of those people are standing in the ashes of their homes, learning from the news that the man accused of burning their lives down once took the life of his own father. Imagine that moment. Imagine sitting in a shelter, on a cot, holding your phone, reading that sentence. Your hands would shake. Because it is one thing to lose your home to nature, to wind and dry grass and bad luck. That hurts, but it does not have a face. It is another thing entirely to learn that your loss has a face, and that the face was hiding a past like this one. Now let me tell you what happens next, because this old file is not just a shocking detail, it is a legal weapon. When prosecutors go to court, a defendant's past matters. It matters for bond. It already did. $1 million does not come out of nowhere. It matters for charges. And if this case ever goes to sentencing, it matters most of all. A judge deciding how long a man spends in prison is allowed to look at who that man has been. And a man with a killing in his past, even a pleaded down killing, does not get the benefit of the doubt. There is also the question of what this does to a jury. If this case goes to trial, the defense will fight to keep the Arizona case out of the courtroom. They will argue it poisons the jury, that a man is supposed to be judged on what he did this August, not what he did 14 years ago. And they might win that fight. But even if they do, every juror who walks in will likely already know. That is the world we live in now. The file is out. The headline is out. You cannot unring that bell. The Arizona case also does something else. It changes the public story. Before this week, the Spokane fire was a mystery. Why would anyone do this? Now, the mystery has a shape. It has a history. It has a 14-year-old ghost sitting in a file room in Arizona. And here is the detail I cannot stop thinking about. Manslaughter means the state of Arizona agreed, at some point, that the killing of his father was something less than murder. A moment of rage, maybe. An explosion, not a plan. But look at what he is accused of now. A fire. Started, police say, on purpose. If manslaughter was a moment of rage, what is arson? What does it take to stand there and watch a flame catch and walk away? There is a thread that connects those two moments, 14 years apart, and that thread is the thing nobody in a courtroom can fully explain. Not prosecutors, not defense lawyers, not judges. Only one man can explain it, and he is sitting in a cell in Spokane County, not explaining anything. So tonight, 2 states are looking at the same man. Arizona is looking backward, at a file they closed years ago, wondering if the deal they made was the right one. And Washington is looking forward at a case they are just beginning, knowing that everything they do will be measured against what Arizona did not. And the rest of us are left with the question that started all of this. How was he free? The honest answer is the uncomfortable one. He was free because the system did what it was built to do. He was charged, he was convicted of a lesser crime, he served time, he was released. Every step was legal, every step followed the rules, and a city burned anyway. Maybe that means the rules need to change. Maybe it means some lines, once crossed, should follow a person forever, in a way the public can see. Or maybe it means something harder to accept, that no system on earth can see inside a man. That the signs we beg for, the warnings we demand, sometimes only become visible in the ashes, looking back. 14 years ago, a father died, and a son went to prison, and the world moved on. This week, a city burned, and the world looked closer. And the space between those two moments, that long, silent, unwatched gap, is where this whole tragedy was quietly growing the entire time.